And we're live. Welcome everybody to this week's Azure and AI Show. And with me today is Amelia Hernández. Amelia has become a recent Microsoft MVP, and she's going to do a talk on Copilot stuff for us. And we have Dan Ray, MVP, with us as well. And we hope to have another speaker join us shortly, Saul Patino from the US, and he's going to do some stuff on Azure Arc. And I have something a lot of people would love is a free Microsoft voucher. So I'm going to tell you that later on during the show how to get those. Um,
Oh, cool.
okay, and it's 100% voucher, 100%
Oh my
voucher.
God, 100%.
For loads
How
of
cool.
Microsoft exams. So stay
I
tuned.
learned, Frank, why those 100% vouchers are so hard to find at the AI tour in Chicago. Have you
Yeah?
heard why they've become so rare?
No?
So the reason is because they had a 40% no-show rate for the 100% vouchers. They had
Okay.
40% of the people that they gave 100%, voucher paid for the voucher didn't show for the exam. So they decided,
Okay.
for the most part, they're doing like those discounts because the no-show rate plummeted. People showed up for the exams when they paid, maybe a little
Okay.
something for it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something to keep in mind. If you're getting one of those 100% vouchers, please use it. Please study. Because the other thing they saw
Yeah.
was a lot of people just taking an exam, not preparing for the exam. So really, realize what you're getting with that 100% voucher if you want
Yeah.
to see them continue.
There is a small little bit of work with this one now, right? So you
Yeah,
have to do the practice exam first, and you have to get up to 80% before they actually give you the voucher. So,
yeah. Oh,
you know,
great.
yeah. So there's a bit of work to put in to get the voucher.
That's
So I'll
perfect.
share all that there later on. So, Amelia, will you share your screen there with us?
Sure, let me do that and I'm on my way. Okay, so you should be able to see my
Yeah,
screen
I,
with the presentation. Very
yeah,
good. Awesome. So thank you very much, Frank, for having me. And thank you for making this show possible. It's really, really cool. Well, this is a new brand session, the Copilot Habit, and I'm sure you've heard a bit about it on my blog post and newsletter and tech community articles. And today I'd like to give you actually a lot of tips how to go from intention to action when it comes to build the copilot habit, because maybe you are actually serious about integrating copilot in your daily workflow, but you've noticed it's difficult to stick to it. So it's kind of hard. And maybe you've already noticed, hey, I like actually to improve a couple of stuff with Copilot. For example, I don't want to go straight to my task list because I tend to work on things that are not really bringing me forward to meet my goals. So Copilot could be a huge help on that, telling you every single day, hey, you could, for example, you could work in these three top tasks to help you move forward with your goals. Maybe you don't want to, or you want to avoid a start to type emails and you want to actually start, uh, um, uh, don't start any more emails from scratch. So here is, for example, something where Copilot could help you, and then you don't need to type the whole email yourself. So these kind of things, this kind of purpose or use cases are very easy to build with Copilot. And maybe you've noticed, hey, you've tried it once, but you kind of not stick to it. So the a key thing is actually to build a habit, to build the Copilot habit. And here I like to give you a couple of tips for that. This session is actually based on a lot of books I read about habits and how to build habits by behavioral scientists like, for example, James Clear, Katie Milkman, and Angela Duckworth. So it's not my invention. It's actually a lot of research. There are a lot of behavioral scientists around the world sharing their knowledge. And yeah, this is pretty much based on those that I've been reading recently, and not pretending to be a behavioral scientist myself, because I'm actually something different. I'm Microsoft certified trainer, an independent Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm lucky enough to have been awarded, as you said, Frank, before, as most valuable professional for Microsoft 365 Copilot. So very, very happy to be it. I've been involved in couple of community initiatives. I'm actually very engaged, sharing my knowledge, and also helping others become. And here I have a couple of initiatives that are very close to my heart. One is the Austrian Power Platform user group, the Austrian Power Platform enthusiasts. That's the way we call us. And we got the chance to meet together in person by the first time last Thursday, and it was a blast. It was really cool. We were a lot of people there, and we had a lot of fun. So very, very happy to give people in Austria this opportunity to meet together with others that are also so enthusiastic about Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform. So I also write a lot. I really love to write, and part of the things I write, I publish on my LinkedIn newsletter called Adaptable, and it's all about Microsoft 365 Copilot and how to improve your work life with it. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want. So let's talk about habits. And a habit is an action that sticks over time. Habits are quite difficult to adopt, especially new habits. So if you observe yourself in a day, you may realize that there are a couple of things that are happening, a couple of actions that you are really every single time doing the same. I myself, today I stood up, I made my bed, very important. I took a shower, brushed my teeth, and had a bowl of porridge for breakfast. So these five things are these things that I'm doing every day, and I've noticed actually quite in the same order. It's it's unusual that I change this order. So it's uh, those are habits. So I don't need any extra effort to do them anymore. I don't need to remind myself that I want or I have to do them. It's just happening every single morning. So it's the same with habits. When you've acquired a habit, you just do it automatically. You don't need any extra effort, and they are just happening. But in order to build them, in order to reach that stage, it's difficult, and you need a plan, because usually the intention, the wish to build a new habit is not enough. So if you, one thing is you wish to use Copilot regularly, and completely another thing is really to do it. So therefore it's important to have a plan in order to move from this intention to actions that really bring you to your goal. So, uh, why intentions are not enough? So, saying I want to use Copilot, this would be just too broad, and it would lack of a structure. So, just to say intentions, I want to use Copilot more, is just too broad, and uh, it does not help your brain to really act. So therefore, just the intention is not enough. Intentions lacks usually on concreteness, so they are not specific. So one thing is to say, I want to use Copilot more, and another very different is to say, every single morning when I start my computer, I want to prompt Copilot to prioritize my tasks. That are two pair of shoes. So uh, just intentions, they are by themselves just lacks on concreteness. So intentions assume ideal conditions. So behavioral scientists said to that intentions ignore friction, because frictions are all those things that make a behavior harder to do. For example, um, it could be mental or physical effort. Like, for example, if you need to search every time for the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, it's going to be more difficult for you to use it. So all these kind of frictions are usually ignored by just having intentions. So therefore, it's important to really take these parts into consideration in order to build the Copilot habit. So what can we do? We all have good intentions. So we all have maybe already realized that Copilot could improve our workflow, our work life. We have the desire already to start using Copilot. Maybe we have already identified, and this would be very important, where where is this use case, or the use case or the purpose where you'd like Copilot to help you. And therefore, here is important, when you've already identified it. For example, in my case, I like Copilot to help me prioritize my tasks every single morning, so I'm not working on things that are not bringing me forward, that are not helping me to achieve my goals. So the first thing, when you have already done that, you know what's your purpose with Copilot, you should then go ahead and select a fresh start. A fresh start could be a date, could be a date, or maybe a situation that allows you to reset, kind of. And I will talk more in deep about this, but a fresh start would be important to start to build your new habit. Then you should commit to it. So you can have to kind of formulate a contract with yourself, so you know exactly what it's about it. And then you should make it convenient. So here is where key shortcuts, app shortcuts, schedule, a lot of Copilot features played a very important role for that. So why fresh starts matter? Well, for me, for example, September is a great fresh start. The summer ends, kids go back to school, and the autumn kind of start kicking off. So September is like for me a great month to start to build a new habit. That is an example of a fresh start. But it could be for you the first of each month. It could be new year actually for a lot of people, and I think it's very popular to start a new habit in a new year. So just pick this fresh start. Exactly, because the picking this fresh start puts your in kind of a new mental state and allows you to to absorb something new. Give you also room to reinvent your daily routine. And here I remember, as for example, my kids were very, very, very little kids, and they used to sleep with us. And at that point, they were already so old that we want them to sleep in their own bed and in their own room. So we decided to take the chance after we did a big a long trip, and when we came back we said, okay, the very first night that we're coming back, everyone is going to sleep in their own rooms. And we told them this already in the plane, and we prepared them for that, and it worked awesome. So this was like for the kids, like this fresh start to start this very new habit. So we were able kind of reinvent our nights that were before very difficult. And well, it's really a fresh start is really kind of resetting the counter to zero. So it kinds of give you a new fresh page to start. So look for this fresh start, um, and pick one. But how to do it? So how to really kind of use this fresh start. So if you know already, okay, the first of November will be my first start. It's great for that. Then how you could actually use this fresh start. So first of all, you should set a goal. What is it what you want to improve with Copilot, which you should already know. In my case, for example, I like to prioritize my tasks better. Maybe, and then you should actually pick a start day. Say, okay, 1st of November, this is going to be my start, and then you should try to make it concrete. And how exactly do you want to do it? And for this, it's very important the formulation, like kind of writing down how exactly you want to start your new habit with Copilot. To commit to it, it's very important that you actually formulate it. And James Clear, for example, explained in his book Atomic Habits that here is very important to, or very, very, or the easiest way to start a new habit is actually to link it to a habit that already exists. So for me, for example, a habit that I've observed in myself is every day I have to start my computer. It's like it's like if I want to start my computer is like the thing I do. So for me, it's actually easy to link this start my computer habit to my new Copilot habit. And so, meaning when situation X happen, then I will do Y. And situation X is actually the existing habit, and situation and Y is actually your new habit. So in this case, of course, it would be my example. Okay, when I start my computer every morning, I will use Copilot to identify my top 3 priorities. And here I kind of use like a formula. So a formula that contains my goal. The fresh start is very important, the fresh start date, existing habit, and then the new habit. So it all this like kind of this contract, this commitment looks like this. I want to prioritize better so my daily actions are more consistent with my goals. And my fresh start would be therefore starting on September 15. And my existing habit is every time I start my computer in the morning, then I will prompt the new habit, my Microsoft 365 chat to help me prioritize my tasks for the day. So as you see it, this formula is like kind of your contract with yourself. So help you build is like a mental structure, a framework to help you build your very own contract with yourself that will hopefully help you to build your new Copilot habit. And now, the very last thing, when you already have your contract and you have committed to it, you feel comfortable about it and you want to go for it, now you have to check around what you can do in order to make it convenient. Because if it's not convenient, if you want to run a marathon, but you want to run a marathon for the first time in Japan, in Tokyo, but you live in Vienna and you are kind of training a completely different situation, and you have to invest a lot of money and it's kind of difficult, then it's going to be very, very difficult. Maybe you should start running the marathon, the place you live. So close to you, at least. So it should be convenient, and therefore it's important that you have a quick access to the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. And nowadays, the easiest way to access the app is actually using the shortcut Win plus Win plus C. So Win plus C this is what it's doing. It's showing the app, just showing the app in a very short and small way. And here you can actually just type in your prompt, and yeah, and then you will receive just a bigger a bigger app. Like you see the app just a bit bigger. Okay, so that's the part regarding how to use it. I myself, I have Copilot personal, and I also have Microsoft 365 Copilot. So at the beginning, and since I'm logging in with my personal account to this computer, I notice every time I start Copilot, I'm not, and using, every time I'm using the shortcut, this shortcut is taking me not to Microsoft 365 Copilot, but instead is taking me to my personal Copilot. And this is something I didn't want. Of course, I wanted to use Microsoft 365 Copilot because all the other benefits that we could talk about another day. And here I just did the following. So I search for personalization text input on my settings. And then if you scroll down, you have here the option to customize the Copilot kit on your keyboard. And it's this Windows logo, key plus C combination. And here you can select Microsoft 365 Copilot. And that's pretty much, no, that's pretty much it. So make sure that Microsoft 365 Copilot is selected in this drop down, and then it's going to behave the way you want it when you use the key shortcut, the keyboard shortcut, Windows logo plus C. It's going to open Microsoft 365 Copilot. So the prompt it's going to be directed to the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. Okay, so that's pretty much the part regarding the shortcuts. And but there's more. There's more because of course maybe you want to do something else actually. Maybe you want to draft in Outlook, for example. And for that, of course, you have to make sure to make it convenient. You have to make sure that Outlook opens hopefully by starting your computer, and then you can use Alt plus I, and then you can draft in Outlook, for example. That's a useful one. And so those are kind of quickest ways to access Copilot in general in Windows, drafting Copilot, and also in Edge. And then as soon as you have the Windows C, you may be one of those that actually love to work with app shortcuts. And before I said that, I'd like to go back to WinC and actually to the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, because the Copilot app in Windows is pre-installed with Windows. It is pinned to your taskbar by default. So actually, uh, an app shortcut is nowadays not needed, but I know that some people love to work still with the desktop, and therefore it's possible. Microsoft has added this feature for you to create a shortcut of the app. So another great thing about the Copilot app is that it actually starts when you log in and it's just minimized. Okay, so let me show you how you can actually go ahead and create this app shortcut. So here I am in my Copilot, and here if you go to the three dots next to your profile picture and then click on settings, and then here you have the session pinning and start. So click pinning and start, and you'll see a couple of very cool things. In case the Microsoft 365 Copilot app isn't pinned to your taskbar, you can always use this feature to pin it. This is going to make it more convenient for you to access Copilot. You can pin it to start as well. And what you can do as well is you can create a desktop shortcut in case you love desktop shortcuts and you love to use them. Here you have the option to create one for Copilot 2. And here you also have a couple of settings. As I said before, it auto start actually, but still here you have the option to go to the system settings and also to just to customize them the way you like it. So when you make sure, okay, I'm accessing Copilot quickly, that's great. That's going to help you not to forget about your commitment. Remember your contract, and it's going to be easier for you to access Copilot and make real, your intentions. So to actually act. And then another tip that I have for you is actually you could schedule your prompt. Schedule your prom is new feature, a feature from I think this year started and was launched, and a schedule can actually help you a lot not to type over and over again the same prompt, and kind of have like a history of all the answers that Copilot have delivered to you, because Copilot is just putting the all the history in one single conversation. It has pros and cons, of course. Loading 15 conversations of in one single conversation is it kind of takes time. That's what I've noticed. It does not perform perfectly at the moment, but still is a great way and give you a small notification uh, that the prompt is already in your conversations to check. So it's a great idea to use it in order to do exactly that, make it convenient. So how you can schedule a prompt is actually very easy. So here I'm in my Copilot and I'd like to schedule a prompt. But first, I would like to show you how you can manage scheduled prompts. So if you go to the three dots, you have here scheduled prompts. And here you can see all the prompts that you've scheduled. You can see what they are about. You can see when they are going to be run next. And you can also see the status. In my case, I have an active prompt here, and I have one that has been completed. What does this complete means? It means actually that it's not running actually anymore, because as you will notice, you have 15, you can run the prompt 15 times. So it's therefore is inactive here. Okay, so here in this active prompt, you have the option to run it now, for example. So if I click on run now, it starts to run, and you can also turn off the same in the same place. You can turn it off or you can delete it. And here, if I run it now, there is going to appear here just a small notification. As soon as it's ready, it's going to appear a small notification telling me, hey, your prompt is actually ready to be checked. So that's how it behaves, and it's actually very, very cool, and it makes it very convenient. So let's now summarize. Summarize now. Well, let's now I just have here like a example prompt that you'd like to schedule. And first of all, to schedule, you have to type in your prompt. In this case, I'd like to summarize the last 3 meetings related to product launch, for example. And and here I just need to run the prompt. Why you have first to run the prompt and then you can schedule? Because of course you first have to make sure that this prompt is working, that this prompt is delivering the results that you want to, and that you like actually the results that Copilot is generating for you. So here I have the results and I'm totally happy with them. And here I can actually go ahead and click on schedule this prompt. And this is how I can schedule the prompt. So I have a very easy a wizard actually form that I have to fill in. So here I have the start. So I could say, okay, every day in the morning at 8, opala, sorry, at 8, I like this prompt to run every single day. And here I could say, okay, Monday to Friday, not working Saturday and not working Sunday. So during the weekends, it's not going to run, which is going to be great because it's going to save a couple of times. Because as you see, it can run a maximum of 15 times. So this is something that I hope is going to improve over time. So we could run scheduled prompts longer, but at the time it is available just for 15 times. And here I could even say, okay, I like to receive an email when responses are ready for me. So here I save my prompt. And then as you see, now I have another scheduled prompt, and it's just setting up and now it's active. So tomorrow at 8, it's going to run for me. And I just make it convenient. So that's um, that's it. That's how you can make convenient. But of course, in order to schedule a prompt, you first have to know how to prompt. And therefore, I have here my Copilot prompting guide for you. So you can actually um, just scan this QR code and you'll find my prompting guide with tips and a framework about how you can prompt best with Copilot. And that's pretty much it. That's actually, those were the tips I wanted to share with you about how to build your Copilot habit. And I hope they were helpful for you. And if you like my tips, you may want to connect with me via LinkedIn. I'm very happy. You're very welcome. And here I have QR code for my LinkedIn profile. So feel free to scan it. And thank you very much. Thank you, Frank, again for inviting me. And
Okay,
hope to come
Amelia.
soon again.
Very good. I've actually learned a few things there now that I never knew.
Very
Oh,
good.
very good. Schedule
Awesome.
and prompt. That's brilliant. Um, welcome, Saul.
How you doing, guys? How you doing, Amelia?
Hi, Sol. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Fine.
too.
I'm doing fine.
Great. So I did have a comment on the schedules. So I work in an enterprise environment, and I think it's wonderful whenever the people can leverage that, because you'd be surprised of how many times people create a some kind of action, and then guess what? It just sits there, and they never use it. When you can do something like that, it reminds them of how powerful that action was. So those little tips are the ones that will continue to make Copilot and all these AI initiatives successful, right? So
Yeah.
awesome
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe so. I think it's very important. I've been working in adoption a lot and working also on what's actually the human side of technology. And I've noticed there are actually so many behaviors behind the tools, behind the features, and so many behaviors that people actually would love or desire. Actually, they have this desire to acquire, but it's kind of difficult to stick to them, and therefore I think it's important for people to know that we are all in the same boat. It's actually
Yes,
hard, and strategies like behavioral change, behavioral science can really help you to build this mental structure, to commit, and to be able to really build habits in the workplace that can last.
Correct. And your point is very important, right? We are all in the same boat. We don't have people that have 10 years experience on this, right? And I think Microsoft has a lot of initiatives. We see it all the time in LinkedIn. It seems like there's always a brand new series. There's a brand new training. There's a brand new everything. And it seems like they want to do everything all at once, right? And so I feel a lot of those students, when they come out of it, it's overwhelming. Everything they just learn in like 3 days. They lose the fact that these tools are meant to help us. They're meant to assist us. They're meant to make our life a little bit easier. Some of the conversations sometimes I have, because I do work with partners, is they're worried about the cost. And so I try to explain to them, it's not, you don't have to look at the cost you're spending, but you want to make sure that all these tools are actually saving you time. And time is the true savings that you're going to find, right? And so those things, imagine 15 times now, you don't have to worry about that action, right? It's gonna be there for you. And it could be something that will be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, right? You're already talking about hours after a while. So yes, I think if we can pass the message of learn small, right? Sometimes we use a analogy called KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
Just keep those things simple. Keep actions simple. Keep actions that are going to help you. I think adoption will be there. It's just that as everyone, as rookies, right? We're all learning, and it's awesome what it can be when we utilize it correctly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Thank you very much for your contributions. So
it's
cool.
awesome to see all the instructors showing what to do with this correctly. So
very good. Cool. So Saul, do you want to share your screen there with us?
Yeah, and let me get so I don't know. And first of all, Frank, I do apologize. And Amelia, I thought it was awesome that you didn't even flinch when I kind of jumped on here. I do apologize. I guess the time zone difference is kind of what got on mine. So I do apologize. Let me share my screen real quick.
Your timing was great, sure. Yeah.
Well, I missed Amelia's presentation, so
you see up in the top right hand corner there, you can actually add your LinkedIn yourself. You see on the right hand top corner.
Okay, give me 1 second, because what I'm trying to do here is
you might get kicked out now. Sometimes it happens, so you might just have to log back in again.
Okay.
So you can actually we're using StreamYard, so it actually goes out through Amelia's LinkedIn, my LinkedIn, my YouTube, and if you log on, it'll go through your one as well.
Okay. So top right hand corner where it says log in.
Yeah, log in. Yeah, so he got kicked out. I was right. He'll get back in again. So you like my Microsoft mug, Amelia?
Sorry?
My Microsoft mug.
your Microsoft mug. Oh my God, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I won that last year at the MCT conference.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh my God. Awesome. Very cool.
So you did see
I'm joining the MCT conference in Sarajevo. I have it in my calendar. I love to be there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's in Sarajevo.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. You see Joe's there posted the thing there. Go.
Bravo, Jose. Gracias. Jose is also organizer from APE, from the Austrian Power Platform Enthusiast. Yes,
okay.
He is.
So you're back in there. Normally, when you try to log into that, for some reason you get kicked out of it, but you weren't able to connect, were you?
I can start.
Yeah. Sure. If you want to share your screen there, so, and I'll put it up.
Perfect. Give me a second. I want to make sure that I have the right. Let's see, computer. And do you want me to just share my screen?
Yeah, share your screen there, and I'll put it up then. Yep, we can see it there now.
Perfect.
Early cloud vision. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So I want to briefly talk a little bit about Microsoft's adaptive cloud. Okay. A couple of years ago, and this wasn't just Microsoft, it was cloud in general, right? We were always in the adopt cloud, right? There was no talks about anywhere other than Azure destination for Microsoft's case. There was that move where they wanted to make sure that everyone's moving to the cloud. They made everything super simple. And unfortunately, it was the very top companies that had this. So as people were moving and as they were given incentives in that mentality of shift to the cloud, most of the customers that were shifting, but they were not saving money, right? And so after a little bit of time, there was that shift of, hey, should we really slow down, right? And that kind of introduced that, mindset of, if we're going to shift, we have to do this right. And if we can't do it right, let's just stay behind, right? And let me see. And so Microsoft's adaptive cloud is actually a framework. It's a mindset of, you leave your cloud or you leave your resources where they're needed. But as Microsoft, let me be able to extend to those locations so I can help you with different components. The first part was obviously manageability, right? If you have servers in Azure and then you have servers on-prem and you're only working in Azure, on-prem starts becoming the red-headed stepchild that you lose manageability to. With the tool, and we can dive a little bit deeper into Azure Arc, that's the golden goose there, right? Azure Arc is a special service that Microsoft or Azure provides that gives all this manageability and extends your cloud, into your on-prem. A lot of people, right? And nowadays with VMware, they're kind of stuck in that scenario where, should I move, right? Should I move to Hyper-V? Should I move to Cluster Server Manager? What about Azure Local? Is it, they're stuck. And so with Azure Arc and the different possibilities of possibly moving to Azure Arc gives you that kind of nexus to connect, on-prem and Azure. It gives you the possibility of maybe figuring out if you want to right size. The cost, TCO of what it is before you get into Azure. So it gives you like those little baby steps. Instead of pushing you into the water, it's kind of just telling you little by little, hey, here's all these options, right? So it governs your environment and manages your environment. And then it presents different features in Azure. Because at the end of the day, Microsoft, wants to provide services. And if they're on-prem, they can't do backup, for example. They can't offer storage for logic analytics. So Azure extended that. You can now have Arc-enabled VMs on-prem in a hypervisor, for example, and use services like backup, like monitoring, like alerting. And so I think Microsoft with Azure Arc found a tool that they could really combine that message of keep it in your on-prem or keep it as a hybrid environment, leave what's in Azure where it's at, but let us help you control all environments together, right? And so that makes it a very adaptive type of environment or adaptive cloud. A couple of examples, right? When I talk to different customers as we move forward, right? The biggest examples that I have are hybrid, multi-cloud, and IoT, right? The difference between multi-cloud is multi-cloud can be a combination of different clouds. Hybrid is specifically on-prem and private cloud, right? So private cloud and cloud, with public cloud. So Azure, we can also consider AWS as a multi-cloud We can consider GCP as a multi-cloud, right? So Microsoft is giving you all those vectors to be able to extend your adaptive cloud. IoT is another very important piece because IoT starts connecting smaller footprints that before were actually they were put in a position that you couldn't manage them, right? A lot of manufacturing plants here in Texas. I live in Texas. We have a lot of plants, and these plants have a lot of devices that do not use the same management capabilities. It might be warehouses that do not have connectivity, and so all these different components still need connectivity to a certain extent. Azure Arc gives that possibility, right, to create that cloud between all these devices. One of the key components of adaptive cloud, like I said before, is the connectivity. And now with AI, right, AI seems to be the buzzword for the last couple of days. Microsoft understood the go-to-market strategy needed to apply to adaptive cloud, right? And they had the door wide open. How? Azure Arc introduced all these metrics that you can leverage. Azure Arc introduced all this data, all this information that you can leverage. And so, as we know, there's many copilots, right? Most of the time we see M365 copilots, but there's OnTry Copilot, there's Security Copilot. Well, those copilots drive the engine based off of data that they produce, right? And Azure Arc creates a lot of data, especially if you're onboarding, let's say, a data center that has hundreds of VMs that are Azure Arc connected. That's a lot of metrics that are coming in. And just like we can leverage Azure Arc, we can leverage Azure Copilot and get metrics, understand. Well, that same mentality is going to be applied to an adaptive cloud, right? We can also rapidly deploy and scale applications depending on what connectivity through DevOps. And then obviously you're cultivating data and insights through all these physical operations, right? As we move forward, we'll start using the AI capability of Azure and start having end-to-end observability. We'll have governance, which if you start seeing these, you'll start recognizing them as the pillars of a well-architected framework, right? We'll see configuration management. We'll see built-in security and control. Microsoft is positioning themselves with this tool to allow the well-architected framework that they've been pushing in Azure to be able to encompass all areas of Azure, or of the hybrid cloud. We can also deploy rapidly within the clusters that you can create on-prem, right? Depending on either Azure Local or whatever method you have on-prem, you can actually use something like Windows Admin Center and actually deploy Kubernetes, which is very, very cool. They're allowing DevOps integration to be streamlined. So you're going to have this, think of a type of ops as a service, right, for Azure Arc, where you can start deploying a lot of this. And then the data is the most important thing, right? Nowadays, data is almost worth gold all by itself. And so as we can cultivate data and insights throughout all your physical locations, you start bringing all these different locations closer together, right? You're not looking at maybe a data center in one location and maybe a edge network in one location, and then you're on-prem in another location. You're seeing them all under one roof, right? And you can actually start using the data together and mesh it together. The biggest, and I'm going to skip through here because this is kind of where we start seeing how Azure Arc is going to, and the adaptive cloud is going to start working, right? The top part, again, I've already mentioned Copilot for Azure. It's going to use metrics through Monitor. It's going to start using metrics through Defender. When we start talking about deployments, right, we'll start seeing Visual Studio, and obviously GitHub has gotten a lot of praise for its Copilot. And then all of this is going to be able to be deployed into either Kubernetes or whatever type of deployment or environment you have. And then the data underneath it, right? IOPS, the IoT devices, that's essentially what they are, right? They're harvester of data. And then tying back that into all the other components of Azure, Fabric and machine learning, all these data points are going to be accessible. And then if you see on your right-hand part, when you talk about Azure, right, all these other components were adaptive. But in Azure, you have Windows servers, you have SQL servers, you have different types of OSs, right? We can control different types of OSs. And then when we start talking about different clouds, we have obviously VMware, we have Google, AWS, Oracle. Anywhere that we could actually deploy and have connectivity, you could essentially enable it through Azure Arc. And then this is extending those Azure services as we were talking about, right? Because we want it to be adaptive. So now you're talking about different possibilities that you can do. You can do automation. You can pull all the metrics from all those locations into Sentinel. You can make sure that Defender is protecting them. And then as you expand, you're using AI as the backend. This will give you a little bit better example of what your estate is. And I'll kind of stop there because I know it's a bunch of information, but what I want to make sure everyone understands is Azure Arc is a tool, right? But the framework that we want to leverage is adaptive cloud. I think Microsoft has tried to utilize it as a sense of encompassing your whole environment. I do think that Azure Arc might have in certain areas not been explained correctly, but it's a very powerful tool. I talk to a lot of customers that don't even understand that to deploy it, it's actually free, right? The visibility component, it's free. And I think it's, with all things Microsoft, sometimes our customers understand that because it's a tool, there might be a cost, but I try to picture the environment because most of my customers are hybrid cloud customers now, right? They have workloads that are not going to go into Azure. It might be because of IOPS. It might be because it's the cost, right? To migrate a active directory controller, right? It might not be necessary to run it for $100, $200, or they just need it closer to home. So the hybrid cloud is always going to be there. And I think that's why Microsoft, always keeps it in the back end. And you'll always see different case studies on their website because they want it to grow. They want people to understand. I just think that to be able to grow that, they have to grow Azure Arc. They have to let the customers understand what Azure Arc is and what it isn't. And I would love to see maybe Azure Arc being more of a SaaS service, right? Where it's incorporated a little bit easier, because I think that's the other confusion is if you go to documentation, I've always praised Microsoft for their documentation, but because Azure Arc does so much, I think the documentation kind of confuses people. And so it intimidates people. But if just like Fabric, where they got a lot of pieces of Azure, a lot of resources, tied it together and made it very easy to mainstream the Fabric services, right? All those encompassing services. If I wish that, maybe it's something that they could do with Azure Arc, right? All these little services that they could do a SaaS platform for it. I think there would be a bigger adoption. And, the adoption, it's all over the place, right? It will form a true adaptive cloud.
That was a great presentation on Azure Arc. Very insightful and straight to the point. No messing around. Very good, Saul.
It's very great technology. I think we lose visibility in the cloud, right? We really do, and that goes back to either all the pillars. I think are at a certain extent, unless you're really focusing with them, you're going to lose them, right? There's cost in Azure. People start wondering why their prices ballooned. Visibility for security, right? If you have vulnerabilities and you don't have monitoring in place, you might not see that. There's a lot of obscure corners in Azure that you can lose, your resources. Azure Arc, I think, will encompass all that and will make it visible. And as a tool, just as a platform, I don't think there's a tool in any cloud, by the way, that allows you to do so much through all the different pillars. Because even the other clouds do use very similar pillars to be able to describe a well-architected framework. And their tools, they'll have agents that do operations, sysops. They'll have agents that do Defender. But an all-in-one encompassing tool that gives you so much visibility, I think Azure Arc is bar none. So it kind of, I wish that Microsoft would maybe reword it, maybe do something like what they did with Azure HCI and Azure Local, right? Reword it and get a lot more adoption that way. But it is a great tool.
Yeah, very good. And as you say, it's free.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
to have the visibility of it, right? To have, you can install it, you could start seeing it. Again, it's going to be the ones that you have non-Azure. And then you onboard them. The onboarding there's a couple of different ways. There's an agent that you could just do a double click and run it, and it's up and running. The process for onboarding them, and what it does is it gives you an entity in Azure, right? So once that agent is installed on the VM, there's an entity on your Azure portal, and that Azure portal is representative of your Azure enabled VM, and so it'll give you visibility. So if you have, again, let's say a warehouse has a small colo located somewhere that they have 20, 30 VMs, they can install it on there and they have full visibility of it. Depending on what kind of licensing, they can actually turn on even more licenses, that are included in hybrid benefits, right? Depending on what kind of licensing they have. There's also, different features that you can enable that cost money, but for visibility purposes, you can do that. Another thing that, and this was actually introduced not too long ago, is the migration effort on it. You can see backup, you could enable backup. And so the migration component of it, what it also allows you to do is get a TCO, a total cost analysis, right? Of what that, in this case, a SQL server is going to be. So it gives you a lot of benefits to it. I would love to be able to understand how much that cost is going to be in Azure before going out there. And before, you can either do a third-party application, which again would probably cost money. You can do something like Azure Migrate, which would be a bigger deployment, right? Or you can have these agents that are running and give you that visibility.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you, Saul. It was very, very interesting.
Thank you, guys.
I'm wondering, because you mentioned that you would wish that this could be rewarded, the usage of Azure Arc. And do you have any ideas for this rewarding system?
Well, I mean, I think the platform would be something called SysOps as a service, right? So, something like that. I think Fabric is very successful, right? And I think it's very successful because the underlying technologies are Azure resources that are heavily used. And what it does is it allows those heavily used resources to be very easily onboarded, right? You just get the tenant and activate Fabric. And, for the most part, there's a lot of backend that's already done for you. For Azure, same thing. I mean, for Azure Arc, same thing. You have to do a couple of setups, but I would love for it to be able to have some type of managed identity to be able to work on the backend that connects to your domain, install these agents, and then, have some type of trigger that actually onboards them, right? Do that part that most admins would probably have to do. And then you can enable services, through some type of dashboard, right? You can do it in Azure, but you have to go, for example, if you're going to go for backups, you got to go to that backup center, or you got to go to that one server. If it was more a single pane of glass, right? Kind of like Fabric has its own portal, have its own Azure Arc portal, where you can start just checking off boxes, maybe incorporate some of those workbooks or some of those dashboards, probably have some kind of data that you could probably ingest into Power BI. Just give it a more SaaS platform, right? I think would be really good. It would obviously help for the onboarding of that. But names, I don't know. Azure Arc is actually kind of cool, right? Arc, I imagine the bridge connecting different environments. So maybe they could just add an extra word, Azure Arc Extreme or Azure Arc Premium or something like that.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you.
What's your thoughts on next year, October, when they're moving from disks OS onto solid state?
So I imagine that'll help, because if we think about the cost model, right, for Microsoft, they buy in bulk, right? So if they have one less SKU to worry about, that onboards it. As far as, whenever I'm troubleshooting VMs, and especially back in the day, a lot of those VMs don't really use a lot of IOPS, right? And so, I mean, are we incurring the cost as users of that? Probably. There's going to be a lot of disks now that are going to run in very low IOPS, right? And so the utilization for that type of disk is not necessarily going to be there. But I do believe that it brings a little bit more stability, right? I don't, that's the beauty of being able to do an IaaS server in the past, environment, with even SaaS ADD, right, or Windows 365, where you don't have to worry about that. But on-prem, whenever we would worry about disks, there was a reason why there was a large shift to SSD. And I think that with Microsoft doing this in Azure, I do think that we'll have processes that probably run a little bit better. They'll utilize their hardware a little bit better. And at the end of the day, it is still physical servers that they have, right? It's still physical equipment that they have. And I'm pretty sure, there's a processor code that utilizes SSDs a little bit better, maybe the caching. So, we might see an improvement on our VMs. I just don't see it to the point that, we just have to pay a little bit more expensive on our disks.
Yeah, I suppose from the power consumption, as well.
Yes.
They don't use as much as spinning disk.
That's very true. And at the end of the day, I know Microsoft efforts are not, in this case, right? They're helping the environment. I think that would be good, which I imagine also the waste of disks, right? I imagine a platter drive is going to have more components. It's going to utilize more components that would no longer be good if the disk is bad compared to an SSD. So, and then the power consumption. At the end of the day, especially if you're leveraging something like AVS that you have to worry more of that host, you might have a benefit for there. I do see. I was seeing that some of the players that we have, like Pure Storage, I know is another third-party vendor, ISV, that comes in and has SSDs. NetApp is also one I know that we utilize a lot. It always seems like those components, they run a little bit smoother. And it could be that they leverage more SSDs on their end. So, I do feel that at the end of the day, as a consumer, we're gonna see benefits, but very small. But I'll be honest with you, if it's to save the environment, that might be worth it all along.
Yeah. I just want to share my screen there. I'll just take your one off there for a second. I just had this thing I told people earlier about where they can get free certification vouchers for doing Microsoft exams. Just 1 second there. Okay, so I can actually share the link. Okay, so this is it here. It's certification prep, right, on demand. It's for cloud and AI platform and security. I think somebody is just joining us there. 1 second there, and I leave Stephen in. There we go. How you doing, Stephen? So this, I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to share it in LinkedIn on the show. 1 second now. I'll just pop it in down here for people who want to get the free voucher for the Microsoft exam. So look, as you can see down here, they're all Azure AI Engineer, Azure Administrator. So the thing is, you have to do a little bit of work, okay? So you have to complete 80% of the practice test before you can claim your free voucher. So it's not a full freebie. Well, it is a full freebie, but you have to do a bit of work. You have to go in and do the practice test, and you have to score 80%. So if somebody does go in and do the practice and you can get 83 times, you're nearly guaranteed to pass the examination. And they have loads of these courses here, and they're all free. and you just have to go in. You can see they're about 10 hours. It's a bit of time, all right, to spend on doing courses, but we've got everything from Fabric to GitHub, even the AZ 500. So they've got loads of courses, and these are all free. So I just wanted to share that with you. The link here to this, skills up, levelup.com, is on my LinkedIn. So that was it. And I just want to show one other thing before we finish up, that the Women in Tech show is going to be on next week. Just find it there now, and I'll share it on the screen. Okay, should be coming across the thing. So women, oh, that's a different one. Hang on, sorry. It is next week anyway, and we have 8 women. Isn't that right, Stephen?
Yeah, hi there.
There's 8. We're gonna
Yeah.
and just go. Yeah, here we have it. Here's the right one. Ladies in Tech, 4 p.m. British Standard Time. And it's a general discussion, Stephen, I think, isn't it, about people's experience in tech? You're on mute there, Stephen.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, so the ladies in tech, that's a general discussion about their experience in
yes. So it's like it's just like a general discussion, and then just to like encourage people out there who are also like ladies who want to be in tech. Because I've seen where ladies are, some people struggle like especially in leadership. Most people don't intend to like listen to ladies in tech, most of because the ladies, and but when like if you have like like a guy who is a guy who is like an IT operation manager, people intend to listen to them more than if a lady is like in head of IT or an IT operation manager. So, and that's actually limits some people in that regard. So I think so. The program is just to encourage people like ladies like who want to go into tech or who are in tech. Just like we have Sarah Kong, she's doing good, and we have Amelia here. She's doing great in the tech. We have other people in tech industry who are of high profile, and actually they are doing great. And yeah, so it's just to encourage any other ladies out there who also want to be like in tech, and then just let them know that yes, they also have a voice in that space. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. So I just want to thank everybody, Amelia, Saul, for your great presentation.
Yeah, so nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise, Stephen. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So you're not going to be around, so maybe some other time I'll call you into the show. Yeah.
So hope you'll join us again, Amelia. You're booked in to do another session next month for us. That's great.
Exactly.
And Saul,
I'm looking forward to that too.
Saul, you're welcome to come back to do another session anytime.
Of course, especially now since I know the correct British time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm also looking at doing this section. Maybe probably maybe after this program. Then I was supposed to do it today, but I was trying to create my environment, but my lab, but wasn't giving me. Wasn't really coming up, so that's why I couldn't come up to present today. Yeah.
Okay. No worries. Yeah. So I'm just going to end the live show. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll be back here at the same time next week. And we've got a couple of other speakers lined up. So thanks everyone.
Thank you guys.
Thanks guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
Lovely weekend, guys. Bye.